Alright, we're doing something a little bit different today. This video is going to be an open letter to Khira, Vel, and the rest of the WCL dev team. My pitch here is going to be for Speed All-Stars to make a return as a front page metric to Warcraft logs. I hope to support this by a variety of arguments for why this would be a great change for parse guilds in general, but also for the health of the game, giving aspirational options for the average guild. Alright, so to start off, I'd like to address some biases really quick just to get that out of the way. Here is a list of the current top 10 Speed All-Star guilds. Number 4 on that list, Convergence, that is our guild. So just to be upfront, I will be speaking from the perspective of someone that runs a community of very competitive people whose playstyle and group identity are closely related to the topic at hand. All I can do is hope that you find the arguments convincing and that the experience and investment I have lends credence to any argument at a level that offsets the general bias of emotional attachment I may hold to that topic. So I've heard the term pet project bandied about, but I can assure you that who we are and how we choose to play is more than a small side gig or hobby for most of us in the guild. It's something we deeply care about. More importantly, I feel strongly that this is something that would be a net positive for thousands of players competing fervently in this category. So the way I see it, and as many of you know already, there are two types of competitive guilds, speed clear guilds and parse guilds. Now in my eyes, parses and speed all-stars are inextricably linked. All parse guilds are going for those faster boss kill times outside of very few funnel situations. So of the 14 tiles on the front page of Warcraft logs right now, speed guilds occupy 3 tiles for guild metrics and 2 for individual metrics. Parse guilds currently have 0 tiles for guild metrics and 9 tiles for individual metrics, though mostly those are role delineations. So personally, I was convinced pretty quickly with regards to the change to idle time on the BT and Hydro boss plus trash damage metrics. It just made sense to me that speed clear players deserve to have a place where individuals in those speed clears would get some shine to go along with the guild, who already had a place for a team-oriented goal. And so that's the key balance that I'm going to be pushing towards, whether it be for a speed environment or a parse environment. That is individual metric plus team metric. So inversely, this is going to be the same reason that I believe so strongly in bringing back that Speed All-Stars to the front page, as parse guilds currently are without a team metric, made worse by the fact that we had one previously. So in my guild's experience, we were able to identify the strengths of our team by the tier 4 speed kill meta, and make the guild decision to lean into that as our identity going forward. Now, had this not been a front page metric, we may not have found this preferable style of play for us. Or if we had, it would have come much later in development. And so Speed Clear saw a huge surge in BWL, not just from the top end, but bolstered by your average guild, who wanted to try their hand at progression-based systems beyond just the first week of raids, right? And so they wanted to see their teams stacked up against other teams and move up and down accordingly on that leaderboard. It didn't really matter that they weren't competing against the best of the best, as long as they saw team improvement, and that was enough to keep the meta strong and keep them motivated and keep the game healthy. It allowed recruitment metas to spawn around that same leaderboard, and is one of the most accurate markers for what any given recruit would be signing up for. In my opinion, parsing is one of the most aspirational pieces of content in the game. Any average player is going to kind of know what a parse is, going to be shooting to elevate their individual performance, and not having it displayed on the front page perpetuates further this myth of it being a greedy or individual endeavor, creating false barriers of entry to that style of play. Now this all sounds really great, and I'm sure myself and other parse guilds would love to have this type of environment, this recruitment-based environment, this leaderboard-based environment, this team environment in the parsing category. In my opinion, parsing is one of the most aspirational pieces of content in the game. Any average player will kind of know what a parse is and want to elevate their individual performance, but may not have any information on that this could be a team environment, you know? And so not having it displayed on the front page perpetuates further the myth of it being a greedy or individual endeavor, creating false barriers of entry to that style of play. Now, there is a prevailing myth that parse-oriented players are not team motivated, and this misguided mindset gets applied to parse guilds as well. And while this may be true in some aspects, it really honestly could not be further from the truth. We've all seen the copy pastas, you know, the bear of peasant collars and all that, the concern trolling from people not actually going for those speed marks, and just general misinformation. But the truth is, there isn't really anything fundamentally different about a parse guild and a speed guild, on average, in how they approach the game as a team, right? In the same way speed guilds are in Discord channels with their guilds, theory crafting about trash routes and small additive intricacies, parse guilds are doing the same thing in their guild-driven theory crafting channels, and honestly, it just makes sense to see them represented in the same way to what they fundamentally are. Now, I had heard points that the feedback to this as the primary metric was poor. And I have no doubt that it was, considering by the nature of that phase, you know, tier 4, forcing players into a style of content that they don't want to participate in just because there isn't another viable competitive outlet is bound to be mired by negativity. Compound this by the scant offerings and the ease of encounters in that tier, and well, you get what you get, right? My parse guild, who grew to love that category, as you know, was pretty bummed by the state of tier 4 competition as well. You know, this was pretty widespread sentiment. Ultimately, I don't really think this represents the current state of parse guilds, nor the need for a team category as representation. In this avenue, it wouldn't really even be the primary metric at all, just one of many, right? This would be the major change in the discourse from tier 4 to tier 6. Now, to me, the pros are clear and obvious. In a pure utilitarian light, this would do a great amount of good for a great deal of people. The negatives are a little more nebulous, and the only ones left that I can think to address are that of the front-end development in regards to the formatting. Now, I can offer a few suggestions to possible solutions, though I do so with the disclaimer that I am not a developer, and I trust your team completely to come to any solution that makes the most sense for you to implement at this time. All right, and just to get into a few quick examples before we end this video, this is kind of how I see the current layout of Warcraft logs as the front page is shown right now. If I messed up anything, I apologize. It is kind of late here, but yeah, this is basically how I see it and how I'm going to be diagramming around. Now, for example 1, this would be the one I would be quote unquote least happy with, but honestly, I would be on cloud 9 just to have this on the front page at all. This is the one I see as the most practical. Not a lot of hullabaloo about adding just one thing to the tail end of the bottom of the front page. I don't think many people would be unhappy with that, and honestly, yeah, the whole Speed All-Stars community would be pretty stoked. That said, this is the least appealing option of the ones I have lined up here, and if there are any other more equitable solutions, I am happy to hear it. All right, here for example 2, this one might be a little bit more controversial. This is where I see Speed All-Stars deserving to be if people are looking to come to Warcraft logs for recruitment for different types of guild and see those guild metrics up top as the primary way of staying motivated on leaderboard, climbing, and all that jazz. This would be it, right? The controversial part comes with the movement of progress. That's always been kind of a weird one. Some people view it as a who's done the PTR the most category, and it's a little weird in that you can only compete in it for one day and then it's etched in there, which is a cool kind of intrinsic part about it that some people really enjoy. But it does, as the tier lingers on, as it becomes month 2, month 3, it becomes pretty unimportant and irrelevant. So I could see a swap here being made where after 2 months of the content, Speed All-Stars in progress gets swapped. That would be, in my eyes, the best possible implementation of this. But again, this might be something that needs to be pulled. It might have a little bit more, unhappy people. So if this is not something y'all want to run with or don't agree with, don't get hung up on it. Now, example 3 is another option we have here, and I honestly don't have any clue how your backend works for getting this to show up, right? I don't know if it's easy to add in another row or if that's difficult, no idea. If it is easy, if this is something you can do, this would be a great landing spot for kind of a Speed All-Stars section, right? I currently can't really find a way to separate BT and Hydril down from the drop-down menus, which leads me to believe that it might not be a metric that is supported. And if that's the case, I know that is a no-go, right? And so you can just nix this one. And really, this is just about showing kind of an option for an additional row. The front page doesn't, there's nothing that says the front page needs to be limited to 14 tiles. It hasn't been in the past. I doubt it will be in the future. So there it is, example 3. And for our last example here, this is just piggybacking on the last one. It's adding an additional row. We're moving from 14 to 17 tiles. And this is adding Speed All-Stars to that kind of All-Star section. But, you know, there are 2 additional spots to be had here. You could make it, make the tiles into a 2 section like you do for BT boss damage and Hydro boss damage. Or you could make it into a 3, right? And so this, I have no idea what other people are proposing, what you guys are thinking about in your discussions for additional categories. And if you have those, this would be a great place to slot those in as well. So again, this is just if it is feasible and easy to do an additional row, if it jives with you philosophically of adding tiles to the front page. Again, if it doesn't, there are plenty of other examples and more practical ones earlier on, but I just wanted to kind of get everything out in my head that I thought could possibly be options for you guys to run with. So if y'all do something completely different, you know, as long as it's there and it's reachable and people are seeing it and guilds are able to be inspired by the presence of it, you know, I'm going to be happy. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy. If you took the time to watch this, you have my utmost gratitude. I hope I was able to illustrate why we think this would be such a positive change for both parse guilds and just the community writ large. In my last year on the Warcraft Logs Discord, your team has been really receptive to people that make a good case for their positions, most recently with chickens and the like. And I just really think you guys have done tremendous work over the last several years with Classic in general. I hope to see that continue in whatever decision you decide to run with here. And honestly, just thanks so much for your time.